Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Your Money, Your Life podcast, episode 276 of the podcast. We are live at the Freelancers Isn't Free event here at the Freelancers Hub. Freelance Isn't Free event at the Freelancers Hub. As you see, I am in the art room right now. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure wherever you're watching, you like, subscribe, five-star rate, and review this podcast because we do this every week. We want you to get valuable information about finance every week. Speaking of which, one of the weeks, we are going to have Jalen Vasquez, the director of the Freelancers Hub, do an interview with us and tell him a little bit more about how he works as a freelancer, some of the financial planning things he needs to do as a freelancer. So we will at some point get that interview. So as always, tune in every week. We haven't done an interview for a long, long time. So that is one thing we will want to do. Let's jump into the week and see what is going on as far as current events. There seem to be a lot. First and foremost, if you take a look at the market update, that's the biggest thing that we always try to check in weekly. One month we had an 8% gain. So again, we saw, and remember, the first initial assessment I gave of this market correction was that we'd say late April, early May, we'd see that come around. That was the first assessment we gave if the tariffs, if everything worked out as far as the deal between the US and China, which seems to be coming to fruition as far as the deal between the US and China. We said late April, early May would be the turnaround. And look, it's 5/15, May 15th. Year to date, we're flat. So what does that mean? Year to date, remember when the market was down 10, 15%, everybody thought the world was ending. We're now year to date roughly flat on the market. And that's what it's 5/15, meaning May 15th. So that's a pretty accurate prediction that we gave there on the market recovering over the tariffs, the trade wars, and different things. Now, are we fully out of the woods yet? I don't think so, because we do have a slowdown impending in the general economy. Chairman Powell just talked about how he feels that there'll be supply chain shocks within the economy and within supply chains coming up. So that's a big, big thing to work out for. We'll touch on that. In fact, let's look at that. The Fed's Powell's cautions about higher long-term rates as supply shocks provide policy changes. So Jerome Powell said Thursday that the longer-term interest rates are likely to be higher as the economy changes and policies are in flux. He said we may be entering a period of more frequent and potentially more persistent supply shocks, a difficult challenge for the economy and for central banks. The supply shocks are similar to those that Powell has delivered over the past several weeks. These remarks are, and they caution that policy changes could put the Fed in a difficult balancing act. So he's pretty much saying that, hey, we're not out of the woods yet when it comes to supply chain, when it comes to inflation. So those things hopefully are built into the market or priced in, I should say. But that's to be seen. Again, we saw the market almost fully recovered from the pullback. We're not at new highs yet, but we've had quite a recovery over the last month or so. When people said the world was ending and people were getting scared, we were saying, buy. These are great opportunities to buy. These are great opportunities to add more cash. These are great opportunities to fill in your IRAs, to contribute to your IRAs, to contribute to your brokerage accounts. That's what we were preaching, and it seemed to be right. Now, again, in the long-term scheme of things, bumps in the road look like, at first they look like big, huge mountains. They'll later look like when you pull the screen out and you pull the years out, they'll look like speed bumps. They'll look like speed bumps. That's the purpose of long-term investing, to smooth out craziness in day to day, week to week, month to month. Speaking of price hikes and supply chain shocks, Walmart is saying that they're going to price hike themselves. They said that their e-commerce business notched its first ever profitable quarter. And that's right. Walmart's e-commerce business notched its first ever profitable quarter. That's kind of surprising to me. The company revealed Thursday in the latest financial report the online sales growth helped propel the retailer to beat Wall Street's estimates. So Wall Street is predicting that Walmart's going to do well, but they're saying that they're going to have to raise prices to really conduct and to really just combat the looming tariff-induced price hikes. So the tariff-induced price hikes, Walmart, of course, sources a lot of their items from different places, and those tariffs to import them are going to hurt, margins. So they have to increase prices to protect margins, and that increase in price hits the consumer. So you see that kind of domino effect that happens here, and so Walmart is saying, be prepared. We're going to have to do this. This is the CEO of Walmart Inc., Doug McMillon, saying, hey, gave it a little video explaining his thoughts. But Walmart said they're gonna have to raising prices later this month to combat high costs and tariffs. So these tariffs are gonna start to have effect, and that's why I said we aren't out of the woods fully yet. There's going to be volatility in the market. That's normal. Understanding how to have a strategy for that is the key, right? Is the huge key. HBO Max went back to Max. So Warner Bros. Discovery, the entertainment giant, is rebranding again. They're going back to their original name. So its streamer was HBO Max, then it went to just the word Max. Then 2 years after, it acts in the HBO name. They changed and they said they're going back to HBO Max. They pretty much said that it represents the highest quality of media, all the branding talk. But I think the reason for it is I think, there's rumors that there was one executive that wanted to just do it max, and that person pushed so hard for it versus a lot of other people. And the test and the marketing studies they did saying that they should just be HBO Max and keep the name consistent. So I wonder if that's true, if that rumor is true, if that person still has their job, or what's going on. The best show on HBO Max that me and my wife watched recently, of course, was White Lotus. That's their one of their flagships. Since is Game of Thrones back, or when is the new series that we've been watching that the dragons and all that? They got to bring back the newest series, the one that we watched, the House of Fire and Dragons or whatever it's called. That stuff's good, but they just take too long in between episodes to seasons. How can you wait 3 years? Stranger Things seems to wait 5 years in between seasons. This is crazy. We got to get to it right away. You can't wait that long. We're not going to wait that long. We forgot what happened. Shopping has entered the chat. US users will soon be able to buy products, book travel, and score events tickets on Perplexity AI, the company said Wednesday. That's pretty interesting. The startup has partnered with PayPal, which also owns Venmo, to enable one-click payments directly with its chat interface. PayPal will then process and ship these orders. So Perplexity AI is going to make it so much, they're trying to make it easier to use an AI agent-like tool to buy, book travel, do different things for yourself within the platform, which is kind of impressive, honestly. Like if you think about AI agents and that next stage of AI, making agents powerful, be able to do minute tasks that you don't want to do. That's kind of impressive. So we'll see how that takes place. Again, a lot of different companies with different AI chatbots are allowing their algorithms to do some incredible things. I think this is quite interesting. The CEO of PayPal had something to say. Starting this summer, US consumers can chat instantly with PayPal or Venmo when they ask Perplexity to find products, book travel, or buy tickets. This partnership unlocks new possibilities where conversations now drive commerce. That's quite interesting. Does that make your life easier? Answer those questions. Does that make your life easier? Is AI agent tools better for you? That's something you have to ask. I thought this story was really interesting. Dick's is going to buy Foot Locker for $2.4 billion. Dick's Sporting Goods has agreed to buy Foot Locker for $2.4 billion. This is announced Thursday. Foot Locker has 2,400 stores scattered across the globe, and Dick's 800 locations are just mainly in the US, but both companies have felt the sting of tariffs, and many of their top products from Nike and Adidas are hit hard in China and Vietnam. So the news of this deal came after Skechers was bought by an investment group, 3G Capital, for $9.4 billion. So this is pretty big. I mean, Foot Locker is obviously a $2.4 billion valuation company, at least in this transaction. And Dick's is huge. So, I mean, this is a huge, huge move, and Foot Locker being acquired by a much larger sporting goods company shows the time we're in. Like, can smaller people thrive in a size of tariffs, uncertainty, lack of guidance on revenue projections and profits? Can you see people survive? That's a good question. We talked about the Walmart store already. The CFO says price hikes are coming later this month. They beat on earnings. They had a strong quarter, but I mean, giving guidance that, price hikes are coming, analysts are going to have to digest that and see if it's worthy of a second look for people that are holding the stock, right? In general, I thought this was interesting. Coinbase is joining the S&P 500. They're going to be joining the S&P 500. They're going to drop, the S&P 500 is dropping out of the Benbark's Discover, the credit card company that's being acquired by Capital One. So S&P 500, of course, 500 large companies that are barometer of the market. Coinbase is now being added. Discover is being dropped. It's big news. I mean, crypto, people said, does this last? Is it going to be around? That was people's talking points years back. And of course it's going to be around. Of course it's last. Coinbase, one of the biggest crypto companies in the world, is being added to the S&P 500 index, which this index, of course, tracks the biggest companies in the world, right? And so that's huge. That is a big deal that I think, honestly, if you look at it, cars getting pricier, driving interest in low-cost slate EV truck. So cars are pricier. That's the one thing that we haven't talked about much is the cost of vehicles, old and new, really just increasing over the last couple of years. But people have noticed that. Shorts have been squeezed. That's of course referencing the short squeeze for people that were shorting the market. And now they're realizing a squeeze because the market has recovered pretty heavily, like we had talked about and predicted and said. We don't like to say we told you so, but we do like to say we told you so. Listen to me now, believe me later on, as the saying goes. There's not much more here. Let's get into our question of the day if we have time for one, maybe one, right? Question of the day. Jewish American Heritage Month. What Jewish American entrepreneur co-founded PayPal and later founded a firm, a financial technology company? I should know this. PayPal and firm. I don't think it was, obviously it wasn't Elon Musk, even though he was part of that. Who was it? Max Lekvin. Okay, Elon Musk is even Jewish. So why did I say Elon Musk? Max Lekvin co-founded PayPal and later founded a firm, another fintech company, and he's done really well. So that's good for him. I know the name, very familiar with him as a co-founder of PayPal. There was a group of four or five of them, with Elon being one of them, and some other really now high tech VCs or powerful people in technology. So that's really good to know. Hey, Joe. We do have Jalen popping in to get the room nice and ready as we. Um, how long does the average user spend on TikTok a day? That's a good question. I would say 5 hours, 95 minutes. It's not bad. 2 hours. It's shorter than I thought. I think 5 hours is way too long. I don't know why I said 5 hours. But 95 minutes, an hour and a half is actually really long as well. 47 and a half hours a month, that's a long time. So, hey, folks, we made this one quick. We made this one short because we're at the Freelance Isn't Free event. We're going to talk to some people about financial planning, their investments, all these freelancers that are looking to get some help when it comes to those things. We're here, we're talking to them, and we're giving them help. But make sure you stay tuned this every week. Like, subscribe, 5-star rate and review this pod, and we will see you next week.